Let's say while longer on this new directive, we've been joined on Zoom by the former president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Joseph Osei-Bonsu, to speak to us on this new directive from the government. Most Reverend, thank you so much for joining us here on ChannelOne TV. First, what do you make of this directive to submit any prophecy or spiritual insight related to high-profile figures in society to the presidency?
I don't think the directive is a good one, even though their intention may be good, because then you will be asking the churches to submit these things to you so that you may give an approval. I don't think that should be the case. It reminds me of some years ago when the registration of churches came up. PNDC law, I think 221 it was, requiring churches to register. And at that time, we refused to register because then you bring the churches under the control of government. So the prophets, we need to be responsible. And so if there are prophecies that they think they have, they should know how to handle it. But I don't think, this needs to be approved by government.
Now, Most Reverend, many think this is to sanitize the space because most of the time when people get to hear about such information in the media or any other public platform, it tends to create fear and panic among people who believe in such prophecies.
I think maybe the charismatic and Pentecostal council, if they have control over these prophets, I should sit down with them and bring these prophets under government. I know that government wants to sanitize the whole system, but then that's not the way to go about it, because once a government comes in and controls religious bodies, there'll be trouble. There should be dependence for the religious bodies, but then they should be responsible. And so I think these prophets mostly come under the charismatic and Pentecostal council, and they should find a way to meet with them and sort things out.
Now, going forward as a statesman, what would you advise the government on how to handle issues such as this to prevent, to sanitize the space? Like you said, it has to fall under the Ghana Charismatic Council. But as a statesman yourself, what would you recommend to government in issues of such nature?
I don't think I'm a statesman. I'm a churchman.
Very well.
But yes, but I think that, as I said, the so-called prophets should meet with their leaders and know how to go about these things. So if God has revealed something to you, find a way to go about it. And my fear is that normally the prophecies these days are all negative, all bad. People going to die, this is going to happen. But that was not the case in the Old Testament. The prophets in the Old Testament were people sent by God to preach God's word to the people, tell the people to do what is right. Now, they were not prophesying about death all the time. And so I think our prophets should also learn something from it and not always prophesy gloom and doom. And especially they shouldn't come out with their prophecies on 31st December. That is not the only time that God speaks to people or to prophets.
Very well, grateful for your time, Most Reverend. Joseph Osei-Bonsu is the former president of the Ghana Catholic Bishops. Let's now hear